So this recipe is creamy mustard chicken. I actually came across it accidentally when I was searching for something else, and I thought I'd try it out. Now, mustard and chicken, you'd think they'd be kind of weird together, but it actually works really well. And I'm hoping this turns out as well as it sounds on the recipe sheet. You can see our assortment of ingredients here. It's still fairly straightforward, not too many things that you have to get. One thing to note is that this can either be cooked in the slow cooker or in a skillet. But I think it's a little easier doing it the slow cooker method, so I'm going to do that. Also, it'll work better for what I'm going to do on the side, which is the mixed vegetables there. This meal by itself doesn't have a side, but I thought I'd try and cook those in with it. So I'm going to try doubling up the sauce ingredients. That way there's a little more sauce to cover those. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to go ahead and get everything prepared. That way we can get started on this. The first thing we need to do is dice up the shallots. And you know how I feel about dicing up stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get that taken care of to start off. Well, it turns out that was a lot more difficult than doing it with the garlic, but it still worked out really well. So the next thing we need to do is get our chicken ready. So I'm going to start getting that set up. What we need to do is we put 1 tablespoon of olive oil in the pan, and we put a little crispy layer on the chicken before putting it into the slow cooker. You set this on medium-high, and then once it's heated up, you're good to go. So before we actually put the chicken in the pan, we need to pat it dry with some paper towels. That way most of the moisture is off of it. So let's go ahead and get that taken care of while the pan is heating up. We can only fit so many in the pan at a time, so I'll just do this in sections. And once they're ready, we just put some salt and pepper on them. So all of our chicken is finished. Now I'm going to put all of that in the pan and then get the sauce going. So for this one, I used 4 pounds of chicken just like the recipe called for. But as far as the sauce goes, my guessing got me about 2 cups of shallots instead of 1 cup, which is what the recipe asks for. So for this, it looks like I'm going to be doubling all the other sauce recipe items. That way it stays balanced. So let's get this started. We cook these for about 3 minutes just so that they get soft, and then we put the wine and the chicken broth in, and then finish letting it simmer. This looks done, so I'm going to go ahead and add the wine in and then let that simmer. Normally it's 1 cup of wine, but since I doubled it, then it's going to be 2 for us. Now our goal here is to cook most of the wine off. You can see it was kind of fizzy when I poured it in. That's because this is sparkling wine. I didn't feel like buying actual dry wine just for this recipe specifically, so I thought I'd use what I had. I also like to live dangerously. So you just keep cooking this about 6 minutes, and then you should be ready for the other ingredients. In fact, while this is cooking, I think I'll measure those out. So we need a 1/2 cup of the stone ground mustard and then 1 cup of the chicken broth. Right, that's ready to go in. That looks kind of gross, doesn't it? All right, I think this is ready for the chicken broth and the mustard. So let's go ahead and put that in. If I can get it. Simmer this for a little bit longer after mixing it, and then we should be ready to add this to the chicken. One thing I did forget is that I wanted to put the vegetables in first so that they make a protective layer underneath the chicken so it doesn't cook too fast. So let me go ahead and get those vegetables put in. I'll have to drain these out first because I don't want any of the water in there. That should be good. Now we're ready for the sauce. Okay, so our mustard mix has been brought back to a simmer, so all we need to do is pour it over the chicken and then cook it on low for about 4 hours. And here we go. All right. There, that's it. So while that's going on, I'm going to go ahead and clean up all this mess that I made. So I will see you in 4 hours. So the chicken just finished, and the last thing that we need to do is pull the chicken breasts out so that we can finish cooking the sauce. And then the sauce goes on top afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead and do that before we go any further. So now we just need a half cup of heavy cream and a half cup of the Dijon mustard. And then we just mix that in and let it cook for another half hour and we're good. Oops. That's it. Now we let it cook for another half hour and we're done. So thanks for joining me. And before I forget, you can add more salt and pepper here to taste again.